What's going on, guys? Jada Black here. Shout out to everybody that's tuning in. I'm going to talk about a developing story that is currently going on. Defensive football player for the 49ers, Keion White. He was having a small get-together, and rapper Lil Baby showed up. And Lil Baby was not allowed to go into this party, and he got upset. And there was some sort of altercation, most likely a verbal altercation. We're going to get into the story because the details are still coming in. Now, I first heard about this last night, but they said that Keion White wasn't involved, which I thought was very weird. He gets, struck in the ankle, which could be very detrimental to his career as a football player. But they're saying, well, he wasn't involved in anything. Only to find out that he got into it with Lil Baby. And apparently one of his affiliates, somebody who's a crash out that has absolutely nothing to lose, they pulled out a weapon and shot at him, and he struck him in the ankle. This is absolutely ridiculous. Lil Baby already has a microscope on him because he's avoided getting RICO'd, like what happened with Young Thug and what happened with Gunna, right? He's been able to avoid that because he's been keeping his nose clean for the most part. But he has to realize that he needs to let go of some of the people in his camp. Apparently there was somebody affiliated with him who smacked DJ Academics, and now DJ Academics wants to box with him. And now he has a guy in his crew, because they said it wasn't him, it was somebody in his crew that pulled out a weapon, and the weapon ended up striking Keion White, a professional football player, all because you couldn't get into his party. So you get upset. The people around you, because they're a bunch of crash outs, they don't care. They have absolutely nothing to live for. And they pull out a weapon and shoot it. This is stupid. Or not for what Keion White, because Keion White had every right to tell you people to leave. You're not welcome there. And Lil Baby, you're responsible because you're the leader. You're the leader of that group. You could have left, but you couldn't take the rejection. So you want to sit up there and get into it with Keion White, and one of your crash outs decided to do this. You better hope that they don't bring charges against you, because this is a whole lot of negligence. So let's get into this topic. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go to this article here from ABC 7 News. It says San Francisco 49ers defensive lineman Keion White underwent surgery after being struck in the ankle at a post-Super Bowl event early Monday morning. San Francisco police said they responded to calls of a shooting on the 1700 block of Mission Street around 4 a.m. Monday. ABC 7 eyewitness news partners at the San Francisco Standard report the defensive end was hosting a party at Dahlia's, a bar and nightclub. They report that at some point White got into an argument involving rapper Lil Baby. That's when White was struck in the ankle. So they got into an argument. I'm gonna say this again. Why, Lil Baby? You're a rapper. You're a well-known rapper. Why don't you have your own party? Why are you arguing with Keion White in order for you to get into his party? You weren't welcome there. He didn't want you and your goofies at his party. And the reason why I call them goofies is because look at the situation that has occurred. SFPD said in a statement that the victim was injured when shots were fired by an unknown suspect. Listen, we know who that unknown suspect was with. All right. White underwent a successful surgery Monday afternoon. According to the team, his injuries are not considered to be career threatening, which is a good thing, right? The Niners said they will provide further updates when appropriate. News of the incident has sent shockwaves throughout the Bay Area, which has which had just finished hosting a successful Super Bowl hours before. In a post on X, San Francisco Mayor Daniel Lurie said this: "Any violent incident in our city is unacceptable, and I'm hoping Keion recovers quickly. I've spoken with SFPD and 49ers leadership. We're all grateful to our SFPD officers for their quick response. As always, I will continue working with San Francisco law enforcement to ensure our neighborhoods and residents are safe." On Monday morning, White took to his own social media to post a photo from the stands at the Super Bowl. It doesn't say anything about anybody being arrested or any investigation, which means they're not going to do nothing. That's basically what it is. They're not going to do anything, is what it looks like. Comments on the post show an outpouring of support from fans after word had gotten out. On the streets of the city near where the incident happened, people who live there are also processing the news. Alana Kane says she was woken up by police activity outside her apartment. "My window is right by my bed, so I saw lights. I think that's why I woke up at first," said Kang. Kang said she only moved to the area last week, but knows it has had its problems, safety in the past. So this must not be in the best of neighborhoods, according to her, if she said they're having incidences. So before, it kind of seems par for the course. "I'm not entirely like, how could this happen here?" said Kang. Law enforcement, the San Francisco Police Department says the case remains open and no arrests have been made. White is the second 49ers player to be shot in the past 18 months after wide receiver Ricky Parcell, who had been struck in the chest during an armed robbery in Union Square. San Francisco has a lot of problems, because what happened Ricky Parcell was absolutely disgraceful. That happened. He got struck in the middle of the city. But this wasn't some random act of violence. Lil Baby's crash outs were involved in this. Again, we don't know any names, but we know his name because he's the leader of the group. He is responsible for this. Now, Keion White is probably not going to look to press charges. If anything, there could be like a financial settlement privately. But maybe he may not just pursue that. Maybe tells Baby, handle my medical stuff. They just have a handshake agreement and they just move on. But this was absolutely stupid. Somebody could have lost their life. This is no joking matter. Somebody could have lost their life over hurt feelings. You weren't allowed into a party and you're arguing with the party host. There are plenty of other parties you could have went to. But it's clear that maybe other people didn't want him there either. You're in San Francisco. You're an Atlanta rapper in San Francisco at this trying to get into this NFL players party. Again, I'm glad that everything seems fine with Keion White. The injury is not career threatening, which is good for him. Now, people are going to say, why would Keion argue with Lil Baby? He's telling Lil Baby he's not invited. I don't think he's trying to be disrespectful on purpose. But Lil Baby just seems to me to be the type of guy that doesn't like to take rejection from anybody. But you need to understand optics and understand that, listen, this person don't want me there. Okay, fine, I'll leave. But I'm not about to sit up there and get into a back and forth with him and get my crash outs agitated, because that's exactly what happened. The crash outs who feel like they have to prove themselves to Keion White. No, they have to prove themselves to Lil Baby by doing this to Keion White. If you're not wanted there, then leave. Why are you still there arguing? I say this about people online. Why would you sit up there and argue with somebody when you can turn around and walk away? Why are you sitting up there arguing with the person? And then it's 4 o'clock in the morning? Nothing good happens 4 o'clock in the morning. There was an NFL player who was struck. He was out late at a party. I think it was at some type of restaurant. And there was some dude that struck him, and it's like NFL players, late night, early mornings, don't always mesh. Now, again, he's looking to have a good time, but this situation to me was completely avoidable. If Keion White doesn't want you at his party, then leave. You don't have to stay. Again, this is a very avoidable situation, but when you have egos involved and somebody think you disrespecting them, and listen, you have an NFL football player and you have a mainstream rapper locking horns. Again, I don't think nobody should be arguing. Keion White shouldn't have to be arguing with Lil Baby. Lil Baby shouldn't be arguing with Keion White. If the dude don't want you at his party, then leave. Say, forget it. I'll go somewhere else. So let me know what's in the comment section. Let me thoughts, like, video, share it. Follow me on all my social media platforms, and I'll see y'all next one.